Welcome to my channel. Thank you for watching this bonus episode of Becoming Her series, a channel where I help you heal through transformation, science, and spirituality with my own experiences and wisdom. This bonus episode of Becoming Her is personal. It's not tied to a specific age, it's about the emotional turning point that shaped everything. When my dad passed, a lot of truth surfaced. I realized the life I was trying to heal from was the same one my mom and others were trying to protect and hold on to. But I didn't and I couldn't. I had already survived way too much. And I was planning a better life for myself already. No one was coming to save me. And in that moment, I had to make a decision. Either stay stuck in familiar dysfunction or go harder for the peace, structure, and stability I was already building for myself and strive for. Staying would have kept me in loops. I already worked so hard to heal from. I knew I had to walk away, not from love, but from survival. There was a point in my life where I felt like I was constantly surviving every relationship, whether it was with a sibling, a man I loved, or someone I trusted. Left me feeling more lost, unseen, and emotionally exhausted. But over time, I realized these wounds weren't just pain, they were invitations to heal, to remember who I was before the hurt. Growing up, we were the quiet kids, the ones who didn't cause much trouble in public, the ones people always assumed were fine. But the truth is, each of us was silently carrying a lot. We weren't taught how to build a bond with each other. There was no emotional closeness, no healthy communication, just survival. And because of that, there was tension, jealousy, competition, and a lot of pain passed between us. There were moments of fighting, snitching, name calling, and looking back, I realized none of us really knew how to love one another. I knew we didn't because it was just too silent and we were too isolated from each other. I felt that deeply with my siblings. My sister and brother often felt like distant friends or roommates. And I remember, like, sometimes when I would tell my friends, or talk about them with my friends, they'd be like, wow, in the same house, or y'all live in the same house and don't talk to each other? Yes. And I don't even think it was necessarily personally towards us. It was more so just us coping separately with what we were dealing with or what we had to deal with. Even though we lived in the same house, we were very distant and gave each other a lot of silence. And my brother in particular, he had a pattern of tearing both of us down, never defending me, often laughing or telling on me or when I was in trouble. It didn't stop until I was a young adult. But the hardest part of it all was witnessing how harshly my brother was treated. I won't share everything out of respect, but there was a moment I'll never forget. He was forced to eat tobacco, and I could still hear his cries to this day. He was punished in ways that went beyond discipline. And as I grew up and just been around other males, I can tell they experienced something similar, but this was more so with him and his dad. So, men that are attracted to me, I could see that don't have the greatest relationships with their dads. I was able to see some of the similarities. It broke something in all of us. Sometimes I feel relief that he didn't stay because what he endured was beyond unfair. My sister didn't get punished as much, but over time, her behavior started to mirror what we saw growing up. Controlling, sometimes emotionally dismissive. Even now, there are moments that feel more like emotional distance than love. But I hold space for the fact that we all internalize different levels, different versions of survival. I understood over time why she chose distance or to be in her own world like me. It was just protection. What felt like slavery to me, being forced to clean, obey, under the threat of punishment, was the environment we were raised in. More so me and my brother. This dynamic shaped me in ways I'm still unpacking. I'm very much healed from the past, but you know, some things you just don't forget, or it could just be like a flash memory. But luckily, because I studied and read so much, there were different ways that I was able to get those images out of my head, especially when they come up. It taught me early on that not all pain is loud, not all family is safe. Once my dad passed, me and my sister got a lot closer because, like I said, I was not close with my siblings when we were young, growing up. We conversed with each other, but we were not like bonded towards each other. But the closer I got to her, the more truth I learned about my parents and why we went through everything that we did. When it comes to friendships, I've never been a follower. I always had my own mind. But what I've learned the hard way is that sometimes having a good heart, being loyal to the wrong people, and sometimes you don't even know they're the wrong people until you start, experiencing different situations or different patterns, or until you experience that ultimate betrayal. It can put you in situations that your spirit never asked for. The friends that I attracted often had good hearts too, but they made bad decisions. Now, this is not to say I didn't make bad decisions, but they, like sometimes they were like, oh, I had one friend like that was closer to her parents. Everybody has a story, but it's just that what I didn't have, they typically did have, but they chose not to cherish it or honor it, or they chose to rebel against it. But they made bad decisions, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I was a lot more smarter, but that's a different story. A lot more wise, a lot more insightful about things. And when you're trying to be the one who helps, supports, or stay loyal, those decisions can end up hurting you. Sometimes I could pull them up, other times helping them pull me down. There was one friend, someone I trusted, who ended up pregnant by one of my younger cousins, and he was underage, and she was very much older than him. A betrayal made worse because it would happen behind my back. Of course, I was suspicious, but I didn't know it would go so far as to being pregnant or really even having sex. I had another friend because, I mean, me personally, I'm not attracted to young men. I'm like, they'd be cool on some little brother stuff, but I'm not attracted to younger men sexually and mentally too. I'm like, some of them, a lot of them do be smart, so it'd be good conversation. Like I said, little brother vibes, but I'm not attracted to young men, but that's to each his own. I had one other friend who once put me in a situation where I was almost kidnapped and assaulted. I remember the man saying, I'm only letting you go because I have sisters. And to this day, it shakes me, all because I had boundaries. This it's similar today, but now that I'm older, it's a lot different. Of course, people respect it a lot more. But when I was younger, it was just like foreign to a lot of people because I didn't want to be touched, and because I stood on the fact that intimacy with our relationship wasn't something I allowed. It kind of put me in a bad situation that I was not expecting or prepared for. How did I escape? I escaped by lying where I lived. This is after, he decided to have some type of heart for me, after me crying and just really scared. I pointed to a random house just to get away, and I just walked home in the dark, and it was like probably like 1, 2, like really late at night. That was a memory that never left me, and neither did the lessons. I have friends who lied, who stole, who tried to talk to the same men I had dated. And once I let you go, it didn't bother me because, I let you go. So it didn't really bother me. Then on top of that, like how I see friends, or I just had different categories for different people. I had one friend who abandoned our friendship completely, and only to side with a family member who harmed both me and my sister. The level of betrayal is hard to put into words, and sometimes the pain didn't come from strangers. It came from those who knew exactly what you've been through and still chose to ignore it. When I reflect on those years, I ask myself, were they really my friends? Or were they just mirrors of my unhealed parts? The parts of me that accepted crumbs because I hadn't learned yet what it meant to fully love myself and fully really value myself. It's one thing to put labels on yourself like I'm smart, I'm this, but what about when it comes to situations or just choosing people to be in your life? I don't share this to shame anyone. I share because so many of us have had wounds from people we once called friends. And healing those wounds doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it means finally telling the truth to yourself. Because how can you move on if you're not honest with yourself? When it came to relatives and cousins and women in my family, growing up, I always believed I had some type of relationship with the women in my family, mostly because of our parents, not because of a real connection. But as I got older, I realized that they didn't really know me. Most of them, and that was just through a lot of discernment and observation. Most of them were never truly part of my life. Maybe two were present, maybe two or three were present to some degree, but even those relationships have always felt distant. And then as I got older, I realized how fake they really were, because they don't support me now, or they didn't support me through my hardest times. I always was friendly, always respectful, but also very self aware. I can laugh with you at the dinner table, share a fun moment at a gathering, even be social at a restaurant. But after that, I went home and minded my business. And honestly, I preferred it that way. And I'm sure people see that now because I'm like, for so long, people would say I was so quiet. But it's like, no, I was being respectful, friendly. But there's a lot of people who say the opposite. Different people got different versions of me, especially within my family. There was never a soul level bond between me and the women in my family. When I was younger, I think I loved them for the recognition and the attention, not because there was a genuine relationship. There was no real support, no genuine interest in my goals, no deep care. I'd hear, I love you often, and I say it back, but most of the time I didn't feel anything behind those words. They felt routine, very empty. I also noticed something deeper. As I started to achieve more in life, every time I accomplished something or stepped into a new version of myself, there was silence. No encouragement, no I'm proud of you, no keep going, you got this. It was like my growth made others uncomfortable or simply just went unseen. But my dad was always the one that could see me, who knew me, who just saw it. Even if he didn't say it, like the little stuff he did say, he saw me, and that was enough for me. Ironically, the real encouragement in my life came from outside of my family, from grannies who poured into me with warmth and grace. And one thing about me, I always used to say or tell people like, if you don't appreciate your granny or you don't love your granny, you can give it to me because I love elderly women who has that grandma love. And I used to love when I had clients like that as well. They was one of my favorites. From nurses and career women who saw my potential, from clients who believed in me, from other women, especially mothers who led with softness, support, and wisdom. They reminded me of the kind of love that doesn't have to be earned or explained. It just exists. Now that I've healed and grown spiritually, I can look back and say this. Sometimes it's not personal. Sometimes families are full of unhealed people who don't even know how to connect. And sometimes it's not just you. It's all of us trying to survive in a space that lacked emotional safety. Looking back, my family was full of people trying to figure out, especially the women. But that didn't make it any less lonely. And it still doesn't excuse, any disrespect or any negativity that was done behind my back or things that people think I didn't see or notice. But as you grow, you let it go. I reflect on the men in my family. What stands out the most is emotional absence and a deep lack of accountability. These experiences shaped how I understood love, protection, and what it meant to feel safe. I had to unlearn the belief that love equals struggle and that silence or tolerance was the same as care. Some men in my family were kind to me, even in small supportive ways, but many met me with empty stares and silence. None of them, if I'm being honest, were role models, excluding my dad. It always seemed like as long as they had a job and a woman, that was enough. Well, when I looked at their children, like from when I was young and growing up. Many of them was emotionally unavailable, angry, or struggling to self-regulate. It didn't draw me closer. It pushed me further into myself in my own life, my own world. And I always say in my previous videos that you can see the result of that now. On my father's side, I was never really close to my uncles. They speak, but there was no depth, no connection. My mom brother was one of the few men I did love deeply at the time, maybe because I saw his struggles clearly. There was a level of unspoken understanding between us. So I thought. Well, I feel like it was, but money will make you do some crazy things. That's all I'm gonna say. And he became an outlet for my brother, which I always was grateful for. My brother needed that presence, and that's something I never expressed to him. But I was always grateful that he was able to. My brother was able to have that outlet by talking to him, because no one knew or understood what he was really going through or how much pain he had to suffer or abuse. But there was also jealous men in my family, men who tried to bully me and my brother. And strangely enough, if I've had more fights and arguments with men than I ever have with women. I often laugh about it now, but the truth is, it stemmed from pain. I carried the weight of their projections, their comments, their disrespect, and that built a fighter in me. Not necessarily just physical, but a fighter, whether it's expressing myself or whether it is physically fighting. Of course, I'm a lot more mature now, but I didn't change that, but I'm a lot more mature now, a lot more mindful, and a lot more regulated. These days, I don't even argue with women. Not because I'm passive, but because I know the damage I'm capable of doing uh, when I've already survived the worst of male emotional aggression. There was one male cousin of my mom's who constantly disrespected me. Every time I came around, he had something negative to say, and my mom knew this because she saw it and she heard it a lot of times. I mean, that was her cousin, one of her close cousins at the time. He crossed boundaries. He made jokes at my expense, and he thought it was funny. Apparently, she must have thought it was funny too, because she never truly defended me. The hardest part was that my mom never defended me, and this is something I actually have to look back on. Like, she never defended me when it came to a lot, because I realized, I'm like, if she did, then it would have stopped. It would have been done. And that silence echoed louder than his words. When I look back, my father, in hindsight, was trying to protect his peace by staying away from the drama within my mom's side of the family. As a child, I didn't fully understand it, but as a woman, oh, I do now. I did so much to the point where I have been following him, or I've been doing what he should have done, or I'm sure he wish he could have did, but I know he's still connected to me, even though he's not physically on earth. That clarity allowed me to forgive him and understand him a lot more, even through whatever negativity anyone has to say about him, because I understand why he was angry. I understand why he was the way he was. But I also seen many softer sides, and he was very misunderstood, like me. His passing revealed so many unspoken truths about him, the family dynamic, and about who I needed to become to break those cycles. When it comes to old jobs, I didn't really have bad experiences. When it comes to coworkers, it's the same how it always been, whether I was working or not working. People would cling to me, especially the girls. But some girls was cool, some girls was relatable. But one thing about me, I do everything with intention. I don't may not talk about it or I may stay silent, but I do everything with intention. And I can be highly focused, especially when it comes to money or work or just being productive. So if I experienced any drama at jobs or work, it was more so because of putting myself in that situation. It may not have nothing to do with me, but just because I associate, I guess, what to say, guilty by association. It was more so because of that. But a lot of times, like I said, I would still find myself by myself or isolated. But I did meet a lot of nice girls or cool girls over time, but they just wasn't on my timeline or just didn't fully align with me. And that's not something I voiced. but it's the truth. And I did resonate more with leaders, managers. I always felt like I was more on their level, even mentally. And I never really was guided or taught how to be on that level. But that is a level that my dad always wanted me to be on, or always recommended for me. So even though I probably wouldn't be able to get it in jobs, or was really big on becoming in leadership in jobs or like standard jobs, but business made up for it. Romantic trauma revealed the places where I had abandoned myself. And this is when I'm speaking on romantic relationships with men. But it also became the catalyst for deep healing, teaching me how to reclaim my voice, honor my intuition, and stop settling for emotional crumbs. Ironically, the love I experienced in my relationships outside of the love I gave for myself was often the most present form of care I received. But even those came with lessons. In my first relationship, I was deeply physical, not just in love, but in how I expressed pain or disappointment. I was carrying so much unprocessed anger and unresolved wounds that it began spilling into how I showed up. My second relationship was softer. I had done more inner work, and I was able to open my heart again. And he was a lot more emotionally mature as well. But by that time I entered my third relationship, old cycles began to resurface again. I was back with somebody that was too immature and just not regulated enough to be with me. And also, I was still going through the ups and downs with my parents and just family in general, just being unsupportive or just being isolated. I found myself reacting violently again. Not so much physical, but verbal for sure. A little physical, but more so verbal. He was more physical towards me, but instead of walking away, or even if I did walk away, I found my way back. And I believe there's a term for that, but I'm not going to say it because I can't pronounce it properly. But pretty much when you stay loyal to your abusers, it starts with an S and it's syndrome. Not because I wanted to hurt, but because I was deeply being hurt. His emotional immaturity triggered parts of me I thought I had healed. And that's the crazy thing about healing, because no one ever tells you how it's one thing to heal, but the next mission is going out into the world or creating relationships and seeing how much you healed, or applying that to new relationships or new people. That's a challenge within itself. I was also still experiencing mistreatment from my parents, and I didn't realize how much I was letting that pain, including the disappointment he would cause, build up in me. That relationship became a wake up call. I knew then I had to leave. I had to choose myself. I had to heal on a deeper level. And it was the best thing I ever did for myself, because that was when I was getting back realigned with God. And that's when I started doing more things for me. And that was like the first time I actually chose to be single and be by myself, not jump into another relationship, but actually just put the focus on myself. It started the last year while I was with him, but once I fully exited the relationship, I dedicated life to myself. What I learned was this: loving men who are emotionally wounded, spiritually disconnected, or resistant to healing didn't just weigh me down, it distorted my energy. I was creating new karmic loops that I had already worked so hard to break. I was absorbing their pain on top of mine, while still trying to love, still trying to connect, and still trying to hold it all together. Healing meant choosing peace over potential. It meant loving myself more than the idea of being loved. And it meant finally realizing that real intimacy begins within, with yourself. What I learned is this: no matter how much love I gave to others, the real transformation came when I gave that love back to myself. I had to learn to value me, not just for what I offered, but for who I am. I had to stop prioritizing love I wanted from others and start choosing the love I deserve from within. I had to trust my intuition, strengthen my discernment, pursue my purpose, even if it meant walking alone. I learned how to set boundaries that honored me, to ask for help when I needed it from the right people, and know exactly who to ask and not be afraid to ask, even if it was a stranger. To get to know myself beyond the surface on a very, very deep level, and to stop attaching my worth to being needed, chosen, or understood. And the biggest lesson of them all that I hear from a lot of people that still struggle with it, but still, I still wish them the best, letting go. Letting go of the people, places, and patterns I held on to out of fear, comfort, or control. And that's very hard because you don't know what's going to happen in the unknown. But every time you let go and it's something that's hurting you, draining you, or distorting you, there's always going to be better on the other side. I'm like, the best thing about reflection is when I look back and I see everything that was hurting me. And once I decided to let it go or decided to take it out of my control, there was always better that came. There's still going to be challenges, but the best thing is learning how to deal with them or learning the lessons so that you can deal with things or just move in a better way. Because you don't have to have every detail of the future figured out. What you do have to do is go within. Heal what's keeping you stuck. Heal what's attracting the same toxic patterns or unaligned people. I never felt like I was a toxic or mean person, but I was letting the disappointment from others and their projections weigh me down and distract me from my own growth. Nowadays, not only did I fully surrender to God, I created my own path to peace and stability. I started accepting people for who they are. That's good for my soul and mental health. I got out of my head. Yes, I managed to learn how to get out of my head and not overthink. I know it's common for a lot of people to overthink or just constantly think, but I did learn to get out of my head, let the past be the past, and gave myself grace and gratitude for being me, for learning the lessons, for moving forward, and for making better choices. No one is perfect after healing. We don't get everything right, but just knowing better and knowing how to move, how to operate, how to protect your peace, that's a blessing within itself. That is an underrated blessing that a lot of people don't appreciate. I have tons of stories I could tell, but this is a breakthrough. It's just to give you a push, to remind you your story isn't over. Your healing is sacred and you're not alone in this. I chose to emotionally heal not because it was easy, but because staying stuck in my head, replaying trauma, and living in survival mode was draining the life out of me. Mastering something I love, building a relationship with myself, and getting rooted in peace required real sacrifice. I put parties, traveling, and dating, all of that on hold so I could finally fix my life from inside out. And let me tell you, it was worth it. It was worth it so much that I reflect so much and I just be like, wow, like I can't believe that it took me so long to do this, but I'm glad I did it while I'm still young so I can have the rest of my life to myself or just to live it in more joy and gratitude and not worry and survival. Letting go is hard, especially when it's people, places, and things you know your whole life or half of your life, however old you are. But when you build a relationship with God, with the universe, with Source, whoever you say, you develop this deep knowing that no matter what you walk away from, you're always walking towards better. It's not about chasing materials, it's about choosing your well being, your peace, and your purpose. If you're constantly focusing on pain or distractions, you'll stay stuck in loops that don't serve you. And if you run from your emotions or numb them with addictions, you're not just avoiding pain, you're avoiding you, your destiny, your freedom. As a pastor I used to connect with used to say, choices have consequences. It can be a little harsh depending on the situation because sometimes I'm like, I went through something recently and he said that and it was just like, no, but it can be a little harsh, but it's true. Um, but it's a pathway towards self accountability and reflection. I help people heal through videos I create here on YouTube. But my coaching is for soul-led individuals who have already released the past and is ready to thrive. It's for the ones who are ready to solidify their future alongside their higher self. This is where we master embodiment by aligning your mind, your heart, and your physical self. Inside my coaching, You'll walk away knowing how to face self-doubt, fear, burnout, and stress with clarity and confidence. You'll walk away with the direction, tools, emotional strength, and renewed connection with yourself. This is the work I was actually called to do. This is why I created the Healing Circle, to remind you that your trauma doesn't define you and your peace is still possible. If this resonated, share this video with someone you love. Share this with someone who is struggling to heal or who feels like they're alone. Subscribe to the channel or take the next step by applying to work with me. Your healing is valid, your future is waiting, and your next level is already within reach. Let's activate it together. Thank you for hearing me out. If this video resonated with you, make sure you like and comment. I would love to hear your story or your breakthrough as well, or maybe you even have some encouragement from me. Follow me on Instagram to learn more about my coaching program and how I can help you clear out blocks and help you thrive as your higher self. Whether you are chasing a goal, starting a family, or just want to be the leader of your own life, that's why I'm here to help you. And it's all to be done in a healthy way, not in a depressed way, not in an introverted way. I do feel like sometimes a lot of people are struggling with social skills, depression, and self-esteem issues that causes them to be more introverted or be more isolated. And I get it because we living in a very evil world, so I do understand. And a lot of people are performing and pretending, so I do understand why people choose to be isolated. But I'm here to tell you, there's so many people out here that is not like that. There's people out here that has good hearts or who wants to socialize or just want to, get the best out of life. And you should be able to experience that as well. Stay tuned for the next episodes as I talk about my experiences from 25 to 30. That will be the end of the series once I reach 30. So there's only a few more episodes to go, and then I will get into more videos that will help you heal. Thank you for watching Mindset of a Goddess TV. We are only going to get deeper, better, and a lot more informed. I will see you in the next video. Bye.